Cartoons, the animated frontier. These are the voyages of the Cellcast podcast. Its continuing mission to explore strange new cartoons, to seek out new animation styles and new creative storytelling methods, to boldly go where so few ever go again. Welcome to another episode of the Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who, he just learned something. He's got machine guns in his butt. Welcome, Jacob.
Stole my line! You stole my line! I knew you would do that. Why, thank you. That was an odd observation of you, but...
You have been gassy lately.
Well, thanks. Thanks for pointing that out to the internet.
That's a horrible
wow
machine gun fart. But anyway.
Wow. Okay, that went further than I thought. Why, thank you, I think. Let me introduce a man who he didn't quite realize what he was creating when he decided to create a robot boy. Welcome, Drew.
How are you doing today, Jacob?
Man, I'm doing well. Ever since like the 2.5 weeks we've been, 2 weeks.
Week and a half.
Yeah, week and a half. I went to
week and 3/4,
something like that. I went to Compalooza in Houston about 2 weeks ago with my cousin, my brother James, and my cousin Josh.
You just call him James?
Yes, I called him James. That's his name. James, Jim Bob, Jim.
I just thought it was funny.
But either way, I had a great time. Obviously, I've gotten into the habit of buying. I'm not the no, like Uba. Be like, I gotta buy all the toys. I'm not the kind of person. I just like the idea of like, oh, it looks, and I can. So that's one of the reasons I buy toys. So there, and it's been an interesting couple. It's been about a week and a half. But yeah, it's been great. It's been fun. I will get into something other when we get into what have you watched, but yeah, how are you been doing?
Oh, I've been doing good. I played some video games. I did some other stuff. I sat through a business meeting that was interesting the other day at church.
Okay, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And I've been feeding my friend's cat for the last couple of days. Well, he's been out of town.
Yeah, it's true.
But other than that, I've been doing pretty good.
Yeah, agree. That was when I learned that our very dear friend was going to a
church camp.
A church camp. I was like, oh, okay. I'll definitely pray for our friend. Definitely that.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, like it's been really cool. Like 2 weeks. We've took a little hiatus since we did Akira.
A mini hiatus.
Because you hear people like, oh, we did a hiatus, and then a year later they're coming back.
That's not a hiatus.
No.
We stopped and we restarted.
Yeah, pretty much. You
ended your season and then you started a new season. We technically have seasons, but we don't go by them anymore.
No. Yeah, so yeah, it's been interesting.
So you teased something you were going to talk about what you've been watching, so I'm curious, what have you been watching?
What have I been watching? Well, a recent series just recently dropped on Netflix, Masters of the Universe Revelation, and I watched all of it.
Why am I not surprised?
I have the power! And I was uber excited about it.
Talking to Chris. He's been dead for 50 years. Sorry, that's a callback.
That is such a callback to like that blooper episode. Oh my gosh, go check that out. Yeah, you will laugh your butt off because I laughed my stinking rear off. This guy just going improv on that. It was amazing. But either way, I watched it. This series has received so much blowback.
Why?
Okay.
It looks good.
Agreed. Okay, so here...
I don't have any interest in watching myself, but that's just because I don't have any nostalgia for this franchise.
Okay, so leading up to like the trailer and like Netflix, the Mattel television company, and Kevin Smith, the producer and writer of this show, Be like, we're all saying, be like, it's throwing back to the, it's a continuation of the original series, He-Man, the Masters Universe, and just all these amazing things about He-Man. But as like I reported in news, now granted, it was only a rumor, but actually it was fact that I think it was Clownfish TV. Now granted, I don't listen to them that often because they are very negative about everything, which is really kind of bum you out about everything. You don't want to watch anything. But they had reported that the first episode was going to have He-Man, but the rest of the series was going to focus on Teela, and they were correct about that. And people just had a hissy fit about it. And so I get around to watching it and trying not to feed into the negativity. It's like, okay, let's kind of be open-minded. Let's not have a big expectation for this, and just go at it as like pure entertainment. And I enjoyed it for the most. I enjoyed this. The story was amazing. Animation was great. Like story arcs and characters were really, really good. There's little parts here, definitely how they handled Teela, who is the main character in this, because everybody's just like, oh my gosh, it's not He-Man. It's like, guys, grow up.
Well, one would assume if it's a show called He-Man,
it's not called He-Man.
It's called Masters of the Universe.
Masters of the Universe.
Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, it's all right. So there has been like the fact. Yeah, pretty much. I disagree with how they handled Teela. Like, granted, she was hacked, like beyond hacked. Like, yeah, someone doesn't tell you a big secret and you learned it when you do at the end of episode 1. It's like, yeah, that's kind of a big shocker, hint, revelation. And she's kind of angry about that the entire season, the entire first part of the season. And that's it comes. It gets a little grinding, like every episode. Okay, Taylor, we get your and like I'd be like understanding her anger and say, okay, I get it, but let's not dwell on it all the entire time. Whenever something comes up, but I thought it was a really interesting element that be like this character who never knew a big secret of Prince Adam. Hint. Okay, spoiler alert for something that came out 35 years ago. 3, 2, 1.
He's actually Danger.
Danger Cat. Battle Cat.
Battle Cat. He's actually Battle Cat.
That's actually Cringer.
He's really Man-at-Arms. Her father.
Adopted father, actually.
I'm aware of that.
Do you know who Teela's mother is?
I actually...
Oh, really?
Yes. Because you remember, there is a He-Man show I watched.
Okay. Oh, yeah, 2003.
2003. And it was painfully obvious who Teela's mother was.
Yeah,
I kept wondering why they wouldn't say it. If I actually knew the character's name, I would do it. But it's the priestess in Castle Grayskull.
The sorceress.
Sorceress in Castle Grayskull.
Uh-huh.
Gee, the fact that she's got the snake and the other one's got it looks like a bird, but they're the same basic character design, just with different animals, kind of tells you something.
Yeah, true. So be like, yeah, it's like obviously because Prince Adam is He-Man, he transforms aloft his mighty sword. It becomes the master of the universe.
One of them, anyway.
One of them. They get into that. But I love the story, the character arcs, and my gosh, the portrayal of Orko in this show. Oh my gosh! Like every time you saw him, it was like, oh man, like heartstring ripping you in half. It's like I mean, like Orko was the comedy relief in the original series, and here he's. I'm not saying anything unless you've seen it. Anyways,
I've not seen it. I'm guessing. I don't know. But he is the kind of the series.
Oh, yeah, but
we all know what Thundercats 2011 did to Snarf.
They made him quiet.
Exactly.
No, be like the betrayal of Snarf now. Orko is really good. Be like, you have Evelyn in here, and there's a lot of people out there. Some be like, oh, it's a female empowerment, which is not bad, but they overdo a few things. There's a certain element they're hinting at. It's like, okay, does this really need to be here in this show? But understanding that I'm using a quote from John Cooper from the band Skillet, who's is quoting someone else. Pagans are going to peg, meaning the world's going to be the world. So the idea that people get out for if you are part of Jesus Christ, like the fact that like the world is acting like the world, how is that a surprise?
Well, I could maybe female empowerment is one thing.
Yeah, but they imply something else.
From what I understand, from what you're telling me,
yeah,
the show is called Master of the Universe.
Yes.
Plural.
Yeah.
Meaning they are not, but meaning it should be focusing on the whole team. But it seems like it's only focusing on one member of the team.
Well, the fact that like the team basically broke up at the end of episode 1, and it's basically kind of getting the gang back together to find two MacGuffins and put the MacGuffins back together.
Still,
yeah,
it just seems like they should have made, if they're going to call it Masters of the Universe,
yeah,
they should focus on all of the Masters, or at least a core group of them.
Well, they do mention,
instead of just Teela as a primary.
Agreed. They do.
Of course, having Teela maybe as a protagonist to follow bringing them back together could make sense, but then, people are expecting him.
Yeah, that is true.
It's not like She-Ra does not exist.
That's true, but also her rights are tied up with DreamWorks. He-Man being done by DreamWorks? No, it's being done by Powerhouse Animation.
Ah, never mind then.
Yeah, the same guys who did Castlevania from Netflix. But either way, I enjoyed it. Definitely the end. Oh my gosh. The end of this part 1 is like, oh, okay, yay! This character comes back, yay! And then he dies apparently again. And I'm like, and then like the how do you say this? Well, heck, they've already produced the toy. Like, yeah, someone becomes a master. I'm like, ha! Oh my gosh! That was the coolest thing ever. And season 2, or part 1 of season 1, their date hasn't been released yet, but I'm like, okay, when are you going to do that? Because I got, oh my gosh. Despite the problems here and there, and the people whining about, oh, this and this and this and this. It was an enjoyable show. Yeah, it had its problems, but
whiners.
Exactly.
Anyway, what else have you been watching?
Okay, yeah. After I got on that,
and
that soapbox,
we don't need another Super or Batwoman situation.
No. I'm not gonna go that far. But either way,
you shouldn't repeat yourself.
No, I try not to, but sometimes I occasionally. Yes. So in the course of that, week and a half, 2 weeks. I started just like, I gotta watch something, and so I started watching. I watched Frozen 2. Mm-hmm. Frozen 2, be like, yeah, it's still good. It's like
we'll do it eventually.
We'll do it eventually. We
did a reaction, but yes, we'll do a full review. Eventually.
Yeah, I watched Tangled, of course,
right?
Because I love Tangled to death. It's a great movie. Fast 5 from the Fast and Furious franchise.
Okay.
I'm watching.
Had you seen 1 through 4? I take it.
Yeah, I've seen all of them except for the recent one in theaters.
Okay, so you just randomly threw.
Yeah, because I've always loved Fast 5. Now, granted, a Charger is not going to haul a bank vault. I know that definitely 2 of them aren't. Because
by that point, all sense of realism had left that franchise.
That is so.
I assume. I've only seen the first movie.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, they're dragging a bank vault through Venezuela.
Can't be the craziest thing I've ever seen.
No, it's crazier. Let's say that. So yeah, and then we did our reaction in Space Jam & Legacy, which we watched in theaters. Mm-hmm. Go check that reaction out.
Yeah,
you can find that in our feed.
Exactly.
Other than that, what else have I been watching? I don't think it's it. I think it's all I've been watching. Yeah.
So I have been watching. Well, I went back through all of season 1 of Star Trek Lower Decks.
Okay. You're probably again
in preparation for.
Okay.
I think I actually caught more this time around since I wasn't guffawing every 5 seconds, and
yeah,
you know when you laugh hard enough that you don't really start to cry, but the tears well up in your eyes.
Right.
That was not happening this time.
Oh, okay.
So I could actually see what was going on screen.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I watched that. I've been still been watching Kamen Rider, the original, and Star Wars, Clone Wars. I am in season 5.
Okay.
So I am making progress. Ahsoka just made a big mistake that I have a feeling leads to a event I know is coming. That's going to get her into lots of trouble.
Okay.
But anyway.
Right.
Other than that, well, I have been going back through the Spider-Man film.
Okay.
Because after Loki finished, I got to thinking about it.
Okay.
And it's been a long time since I've seen many of the MCU, not X-Men movies.
Yeah.
Marvel movies. And there's a bunch in there I've never seen.
Really?
For one reason or another.
Okay.
Now, I started with the Spider-Man movies because No Way Home is later this year.
Right.
So it's going to come up pretty quick. And then after that, I'm going to go into, like, I think the next movie I've got on that list is Howard the Duck.
Howard, like, the original movie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
Okay.
It's probably about the oldest I can think of. I haven't watched it yet. But then I'll go into, like, the Blade trilogy, because I've never seen those.
Okay.
I've seen Daredevil, but never Elektra.
Okay. Elektra's different.
And I've not watched either Punisher movie from the 90s.
I gotcha.
But I've seen Ghost Rider and Hulk and the 3 Fantastic Four movies, and of course, all the X-Men movies. And then for fun, I put Big Hero 6 at the back end of the list, even though I don't think it's going to be referenced at all. But with all this multiverse stuff going on, I just got to thinking they may be pulling some more stuff.
You never know.
From the things that our generation would consider their childhood.
Right.
So, you never
know.
Trying to, I want to be able to catch references when they occur.
Okay. Totally get it.
So I've been doing that. Watched a little bit more of Demon Slayer, and I think that's about it.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's about it. So what do we got in the news?
What have we got in the news? All right. So apparently Comic-Con has been going on. Or,
yes.
Or San Diego Comic-Con, which is also now known as Comic-Con at Home 2021.
Yes.
And the only bit of news I could find, now granted, they did show the trailer for Lower Deck Season 2. Mm-hmm. And I think I saw...
And Star Trek Prodigy, which I don't know how I feel about yet.
Yeah, I saw like a glimpse of that. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. The one that they did, Amazon Prime Video snagged the exclusive rights as what was announced earlier this, I think like 3 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. That they snagged the rights for the Rebirth film series for Evangelion, and the final installment of that series, Evangelion 3.0 plus 3.01, Thrice Upon a Time, available August 13th, 2021. This was interesting. The global streaming giant Netflix has revealed more on its viewing data, crowning Sony Pictures' animated Wild Family Road Trip, The Mitchells vs. Machines, as its platform's most watched animated original movie in its first month. According to the numbers, 53 million subscribers households hitched a ride with the Mitchells in the 8 days of the film's streaming release. Previously, that title was held to the moon. And yeah, it'd be like apparently it's the highest anime movie on Netflix, and we have done a review over that. So go check that out if you want a reaction to that.
Yeah.
So go check that out. And final bit of news regarding another reaction we did just recently, and Space Jam: A New Legacy. All right. So despite less than stellar review and its simultaneous launch on HBO Max, LeBron James and the Looney Tunes managed to dunk on Scarlett Johansson in it, meaning Black Widow, in its Hyper Flick opening weekend, bringing in $31.6 million. Space Jam 2 scored the best 2-day trip of a family film, as well as Warner Brothers' best top-selling opening during the pandemic era, squeezing out Godzilla vs. Kong at $3.16 million, and Disney Marvel Black Widow dropped 67% in its second week at $22.6 million. Now, a lot of people are saying, be like, oh, because it's a failure because it dropped. It's during a pandemic, people.
There's a lot of movies coming out.
There's a lot of movies coming out, and the thing, it's like, yeah, most people are watching them on streaming services.
It's good. Things are slowly working their way back to
exactly.
normal.
So to say, be like, oh, because it
at least it seems to be.
It seems to be. Now, like, go back and listen to our reaction to Space Jam. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I fully admit that. So if you want my full reaction, go check that episode. And Black Widow was amazing. Black Widow was an amazing movie.
I agree.
And I think people just now are just so cynical about everything. It's really, really revolting sometimes.
I blame the internet for this.
Agreed. Completely agreed.
It's all Facebook's fault. Shame on you, Facebook, for making us hate everything.
Says the guys who are now streaming on Facebook Live.
Precisely. It's the only way they'll listen.
Yeah, exactly. But either way, so yeah, that is all I have for in the news.
Alrighty, so let's jump into the spoiler-free section of our review for Astro Boy. I think I did see this originally in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it once. I remember having more of a meh type of reaction.
Yeah.
The first time I watched it, I'm thinking, okay, that's good. It's not quite as good as the other Imagi CG movie that had come out before this, the TMNT.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't quite that good. But, I mean, I thought, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was the only one who... I thought I just had, kind of a meh reaction, because it's like, I don't really know this franchise. The film was obviously made for a more kid audience. Mm-hmm. So maybe I had just kind of grown out of, whatever thing they were hitting at the time.
Yeah.
But when I rewatched it this time, I thought, okay, yeah, there's still some issues. But, I mean, it's still a good movie for what it is.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
It's got a lot of good classic sci-fi feel. I did enjoy it this time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just me being older and being able to look at it with less cynical eyes. Because, I mean, when this came out, in what, 2009?
2009.
Yeah, I would have been like 20.
Mm-hmm.
We all know how cynical we are at 20.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But I enjoyed it. It was fun. I had a good time with it. Give it a watch.
Yeah. It's definitely worth a watch.
I have no idea how accurate it is to the source material.
Right.
But that's a secondary matter.
Right.
I mean, I'll get more into it, but I mean, I like the character designs. I thought they looked good. The animation was good. I mean, it didn't feel like they cut any corners. I mean, it's a good movie. I don't know how any other better way to put it. The story is a little so-so, but I mean,
Agreed.
It's still a good movie. So yeah. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts?
My non-spoiler thoughts. This is the first time I actually watching this film. I put this film on the list primarily for I can actually watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at, okay, what movies have I not watched? And so I'm looking at looking. Oh, Astro. I remember like vaguely like seeing a trailer for that and that very ominous line, be like, wait, I have machine guns in my butt?
Yeah.
Kind of scene. And I was like, what the heck? So I never watched it. And watching on this first viewing, it's like, it's a passable film. Like it's got, like you said, good character designs, that it's very much it's very anime influence with a lot of American influence within it. It's very much a hybrid of
yes.
those styles.
When you consider the original style was not modern anime style, it was still leaning on the Disney influences.
Agreed.
You can see how it works that way.
Yeah, agreed. It does have it has some highs, it has some lows. It's very passable. It's an enjoyable film. It's passable. It does have some problems, definitely with some story beats here and there. And there's one point that really kind of...
We'll get to that soon.
We'll get that under my dislikes. It's kind of more like a cliche than anything. Really? You're going there?
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I feel like it's passable. I feel like it's an enjoyable film. And would I recommend it? Yeah. But like it's watching something that most people are probably either they had seen or have never heard of.
Right.
So it's giving people the opportunity to go see something that they may have never seen. So would I recommend it? Yeah. And if you see it for the first time, after that, let us know and we will talk about that at some point.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's my non-spoiler talk about Astro Boy.
Well, in that case, join us on the other side of the bumpers, and we'll get to spoiling this thing. Do you like Star Wars? I don't just mean the original trilogy. Along with that, I mean the prequels, the sequels, the anthologies, the animated shows, and of course, who doesn't like Baby Yoda? Well, if you've been in the fandom for any length of time, you know how toxic the fandom can get. And if you'd like to be able to discuss a galaxy far, far away in a much more positive light, might I suggest searching out The Outer Rim, a Facebook group dedicated to all of Star Wars, and check out their YouTube channel, which you can easily find at Pop Americana, which the podcast you're currently listening to is also a part of.
To find that and more, check out the link in the description. Don't forget that you can download? Don't forget that you can... Don't forget that you can listen to us record the podcast live every Tuesday over on our Facebook page, The Cellcast, our Twitch channel, The Cellcast Gaming, and on YouTube at Cellcast. Also, don't forget to join our Patreon if you would like to support us monetarily. At $1, you'll get our everlasting thanks. At our $5 tier, you can get some artwork from Jacob. And on our $10 tier, you can get bloopers for every episode we've released that I've remembered to release them for. And you can get commentaries from different movies. So come check us out over there if you would like to support us financially. The following is a spoiler-filled review for the movie Astro Boy 2009. Listener discretion is advised. Astro Boy was written and directed by David Bowers, who went on to direct the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies numbers 2, 3, and 4. He didn't do the first one, apparently. It was also written by Timothy Harris, whose most recent work is Space Jam: A New Legacy. And it was based on the manga by Osamu Tezuka. Getting into the cast, this is going to be roughly in order of appearance.
Okay.
Charlize Theron plays the Our Friends narrator. She's most famous, I think, or at least recently, for playing Imperator Furiosa in Mad Max Fury Road.
True.
Freddie Highmore was played Astro and Toby. And he was Charlie Bucket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, same guy.
Makes sense.
Ron Stiles played Mr. Mustachio and Burning Robot. And he was Mailman Farnham in the movie Hot Shots.
Interesting.
That's the parody from the 90s of Top Gun.
Yes.
Eugene Levy was the voice of Orin. And in Finding Dory, he played Charlie. Nicolas Cage plays Dr. Tenma. And he played Johnny Blaze and Ghost Rider in Ghost Rider. Donald Sutherland was President Stone, and he played President Snow in the Hunger Games.
He did.
Bill Nighy was Dr. Elephant and Robotsky. And in Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3, he was Davy Jones.
Okay, that makes sense.
David Alan Grier was Mr. Squirt and Math Cowboy.
Okay.
That was the squirt bottle right on the window.
Oh, yeah, that character.
That character.
Almost completely forgot about him.
Yeah, Mr. Squirt. And, he was also a boxer robot in the movie.
Oh, okay. When they got shredded.
Yes. And in the upcoming Clifford the Big Red Dog, he plays a character named Packard. Alan Tudyk played Mr. Squeegee. And
Tudyk did?
Yeah. And Scrap Heap Head and Stinger 2.
Okay.
And I think his best role so far has been K2SO in Rogue One: A Star Wars Story.
Okay.
He's also the chicken from Moana that Jacob hates.
I find really annoying.
Fair enough. Newell Alexander was General Heckler, and he was additional voices in the Angry Birds movie 2. Bob Logan played Stinger 1, and he wrote the Lego Ninjago movie.
Really?
And that's about it.
Huh.
He had no other acting credits but this movie.
Interesting.
D. Bradley Baker played Trash Can. That's a robot dog.
Yeah.
And he played Perry the Platypus in the Phineas and Ferb franchise. And also every single clone trooper in Star Wars The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and I believe the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
He is never going to be
without a job.
Short for work.
Yes.
Kristen Bell played Korra. Of course, she's Anna from Frozen.
Yeah.
Or is it Anna? There's a callback.
Yes.
Moises Arias played Zane, and he played Juan Pablo in Nacho Libre.
Okay.
Sterling Beaumont played Sludge, and he played a character named Young Benjamin Linus in the show Lost. Madeline Carroll played Widget, and she was the White Queen in Resident Evil Extinction.
Huh.
Matt Lucas played Sparks, and he was both Tweedledee and Tweedledum in Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Really?
Elle Fanning was Grace, and she plays the character of Aurora in Maleficent.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan Lane voiced Hameg, and he's the most known for playing Timon in The Lion King. And last, and most certainly not least, none other than Samuel L. Blankety Blank Jackson. We're a PG show. He played Zog in this movie.
Shut the front door.
Yeah. Of course, I know him mostly for playing Nick Fury in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I am utterly shocked because be like looking at research and everything, it never said Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, I've got some interesting things on that too.
Okay, it's like let me guess.
When we get to the trivia.
Yeah, I'm halfway expecting like now, Mr. Jackson be like, you cannot curse in this movie. I'm sorry.
You can't have a
I'm
purple
sorry,
lightsaber
Mr. Jackson. Woo!
Anyway, Kingdom Hearts connections. We got D. Bradley Baker, who played Trash Can here, but was also Waka in Kingdom Hearts.
Waka waka.
You know, the really bad Waka with the bad accent.
Yes, I remember.
And Kristen Bell, of course, was Anna in both Frozen and Kingdom Hearts 3.
True.
And that's it.
Really?
Yes. So what do you got in info and stuff?
All right. If you have a subscription to HBO Max, it's available there.
This is how I watched it.
Exactly. Or you can rent it on like basically anywhere you can, stream, purchase anything. Let's see. IMDb has a 6.3 out of 10. Production was by Imagi.
I think it's Imagi.
Yeah, Imagi Animated Studios.
And the reason I think it's actually Imagi, because I think it's supposed to be a combination of the words imagination and magi.
Okay.
I don't know if this is true.
There again.
It makes sense to me.
It does.
Intelligent magic, maybe.
Maybe. Tezuka Productions. I may be saying that.
Tezuka.
Tezuka. Thank you. Tezuka. It was
who own the copyrights to all of Osamu Tezuka's
that makes
works,
sense.
including Astro Boy.
That makes sense. Distribution was by Summit Entertainment. It was released on October 8th, 2009 in Hong Kong, 2010 in Japan, and October 23rd, 2009 in the United States. Now, box office. Now, this had an estimated budget of $64 million. Estimated. Its first weekend, it gained $6.7 million on October 20th, 2019. Its U.S. gross alone, including Canada, was $19.5 million. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't help with its world gross was $39.8 million. There's some data out there that it made its budget, but it didn't. It with promotions and all the other stuff, be like it literally tanked.
Yes, it is a literal box office bomb.
Yeah, literally, in so many ways than more. All right, so that's all I have because there was never a sequel because obviously the studio that did it tanked.
That's the thing. Just I kept coming across because I actually looked up some information about Imagi, or however you say the name of the studio.
Right.
There was a sequel that was in pre-production.
Really?
Yes. It was like early pre-production. Like, just kind of trying to figure out what the story was going to be, where they would go from where they were, kind of the early stuff.
Yeah.
And then there were like 3 other movies that were in various states of production.
Yeesh.
When this movie came out. and it bombed so hard it put the company out of business, and all those works got canceled.
Ow. I feel sorry for those guys.
Well, apparently the company still exists.
Yes,
it's just
they
now
do.
they're a financial lending company.
Apparently.
Of all things.
That is crazy.
But anyway, getting into the summary for this. Toby Tenma is a teenager who lives in the futuristic city-state of Metro City, which floats above the polluted surface on Earth. His dad, Dr. Tenma, works at the Ministry of Science alongside Dr. Elephun, who I kept thinking of the elephant game from when we were kids. Elephun the Elephant. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
I remember seeing commercials for it.
Okay.
It was a plastic elephant kind of a thing that had a motor in it that would blow air up its quote-unquote clear trunk, and when it'd blow butterflies out of it, and you were supposed to catch the butterflies.
Interesting.
Anyway, that's beside the point.
Yes.
But that's what kept coming to my mind every time I heard this guy's name. They create the Peacekeeper, an advanced defensive robot that is powered using the blue and red cores, two powerful energy cores that emit respective opposite positive and negative energy, discovered by Dr. Elephun. The two scientists briefed the president of Metro City, President Stone, who is running for re-election. And if you ever forget that, he'll let you know.
Yes.
Against the scientists' warnings, Stone loads the negative red core into the Peacekeeper, causing it to become highly aggressive. Toby is accidentally killed by the Peacemaker, as it attempts to violently leave the research facility before it is put down by Dr. Elephun. I bet you Francisco of the Retro Rewind podcast hates this movie. You want to know why?
Yeah, because disobedient
Disobedient
to
children. A distraught-driven Tenma revives Toby as a cyborg programmed with all his memories, but also makes his body with built-in defenses to protect him. Which raises a lot of questions.
Yes.
Powered by the blue core, the cyborg activates and believes himself to be Toby. But although he has his original mind and similar personality, Tenma realizes he could never be revived as the son he lost. Toby discovers his robot capabilities, including the ability to understand non-talking robots and rocket-powered flight. Stone has his forces pursue Toby, but the chase leads to him falling off the city's edge when Stone's flagship blasts him with the missiles. Meanwhile, Tenma escapes arrest by agreeing to disable Toby and give up the blue core. Toby wakens in an enormous junkyard created from the redundant robots of Metro City it dumped there. He meets a group of orphan children, Zane, Sludge and Widget, and Cora, accompanied by a dog-like robot named Trashcan, who could see through Toby like we could look through water, for being honest. Like looking through a window. Toby also meets the members of the Robot Revolutionary Force, or the RRF,
Right.
Sparks, Robotsky, and Mike the Fridge, who plan to free robots from mankind's control, but are very inept and bound by the laws of robotics. While attempting to recruit him for their cause, they renamed Toby Astro. Hamegg, the caretaker of the orphans, takes Astro in. The next day, Astro comes across an old offline construction robot named Zog, whom he reactivates through sharing some of the blue core's energy. Hamegg scans Astro, finding he is actually a robot, and paralyzes Astro with an electrical blaster to use him in the fighting ring. Astro reluctantly defeats Hamegg's fighters until Zog gets deployed. Astro and Zog refuse to fight, and Hamegg attempts to disable both of them, but Zog, who predates the laws of robotics, fights back. Zog nearly kills Hamegg, but gets saved by Astro, shocking the crowd. Moments later, Stone's forces arrive to take Astro back to Metro City, and he willingly surrenders himself. Astro reunites with Tenma and Elephun and allows them to disable him, realizing even though Astro is not Toby, he is still his son. Dr. Tenma defies Stone, reactivates Astro, and lets him escape. Angry, Stone reloads the red core into the Peacekeeper, descended after Astro, only for it to absorb and merge with him. The Peacekeeper absorbs weapons and buildings, becoming bigger and stronger, and attacks Metro City, prompting Astro to battle it. Metro City's power station gets destroyed during the fight, causes the city to fall, and Astro uses his superhuman strength to help it land safely. The Peacekeeper tries absorbing Astro to get his blue core using the red core, but the core's connection causes a violent reaction and separates them. Dr. Tenma tells Astro that the two cores united can destroy themselves. The Peacekeeper captures Astro's friends from the junkyard, and he flies into the red core, sacrificing himself to destroy it, while Stone survives from its destruction and gets arrested for his actions. As Elephant and the children find Astro's body, Zog reactivates Astro by sharing back the blue core energy that reactivated him, and Astro reunites with all his friends and his father. The city is later attacked by a monstrous cycloptic extraterrestrial, but Astro punches it as he leaps into action. Getting into the trivia. The character of Astro Boy first appeared in print as a manga in 1952 by Osamu Tezuka. This manga was adopted into the television shows Astro Boy 1963, Astro Boy 1980, and Astro Boy 2003. The one from 1980 had it as one word, while the other two had it as separate words.
Okay.
Interestingly enough.
Yes.
As can be understood, this film was not a success in Japan, or anywhere else for that matter,
Right.
Opening at the bottom end of the top 10 films of that week. Initially, it broke box office opening records for a CGI animated movie in China at the time. However, numbers dropped after a few days. By the end of its run in China, it was not considered a box office success, unlike two other US-produced Japanese-based films that had been done previously, namely Dragon Ball Evolution that same year in 2009 and Speed Racer in 2008.
Yeah.
These had tanked in Japan, but went on to be hugely successful in China.
Interesting.
As Astro Boy is under construction, the blueprint plan briefly seen has been drawn exactly as the character appeared in Astro Boy 1963. Samuel L. Jackson only speaks a total of 11 words in the movie. Those being, I'm old school, not just people, the blue stuff, and no biggie. And I wonder how much they paid him for that.
The same. It's like, wow, okay, you got a very high... Well, this was 2009, so that would have been... Yeah.
He had just got done playing Nick Fury at the end of Iron Man.
Yeah. Wow.
Putting this in perspective.
Yes.
Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics are referenced a few times throughout the film. They are first mentioned when the RRF are introducing themselves to Astro. These laws, paraphrased, are as follows. A robot may not harm a human being or, through inaction, allow a human to come to harm. A robot must obey all orders given it by a human being as long as this does not conflict with the first law. And a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not interfere with the first or second laws. If you didn't know that. A man in a red cap and glasses with a big nose appears in almost subliminal cameos all throughout the film. This is the frequent self-caricature of Osamu Tezuka.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
Scarlett Johansson was set to voice Korra,
Okay.
but was replaced by Kristen Bell for unknown reasons. Right before she went on to play Black Widow for the first time. The Japanese release of the movie uses the original character model of Astro Boy, maintaining the original body form, facial features, and hairstyle, rather than the updated character model the rest of the world got. The differences can be noted in comparison between the US and Japanese trailers for the movie. I want to put this in perspective.
Okay.
Because just saying, oh, they changed the model for Japan doesn't sound like it's a lot. But think about how many scenes, how many shots, how many frames of this movie that Astro Boy is in.
Yeah.
I'm assuming...
A lot.
I'm assuming not the original Toby Tenma.
Yeah.
The actual
Robot.
Toby/Astro, when he's a robot. That means every single one of those frames
Yeah.
had to be re-rendered essentially recreated, not completely, because I mean they didn't have to go all the way back to scratch.
Yeah.
But they had to re-render the image just for Japan, so that it had the original character model. Think about how much work that is.
Jiminies, can we get that copy?
I bet you can get it in Japan.
Probably.
And I bet it looks better, because I actually don't really like Astro Boy's design in this. But it's one of the few I wasn't happy with.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, that's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work.
That is replacing Sonic the Hedgehog's model level of work.
Wow. Yeah, agreed.
Except I don't think they actually had to do it, other than they wanted to placate Japan.
Yeah.
Which is odd. But anyway. Last but not least, in summer 2006, the Hong Kong animation film Imaji Animation Studios picked up the property as part of a 3-picture deal with Warner Brothers that also included TMNT, which came out in 2007. Colin Brady was attached to direct. When Summit Entertainment took over the distribution rights in 2008, Brady was replaced by director David Bowers. And that's the end of the trivia.
Gotcha.
So, since I've been talking a bit, what's your first like?
My first like. This movie has a stellar cast. Mm-hmm. Like, you're talking, like, A-tier level. Like, Samuel L. Jackson in this movie. I didn't know that.
As a bit part.
As a bit part in this film. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, that's freaking amazing. Like, you have Keith Sutherland, or let me think.
It wasn't Kiefer Sutherland. It was his father, Donald Sutherland.
Sutherland. He was in there.
Different Sutherland, different actor.
Agreed.
Are you going to say that Charlie Sheen and Martin Sheen are the same person?
No, I'm not going to say that.
There's a big difference.
There's a big difference.
And I assume there's a big difference between Kiefer and Donald, too.
Yes, agreed. They're related.
They're different people. You and Jim are related.
Yeah.
And you are very different people.
Agreed. I completely agreed. Okay, so yeah, it's like the cast is stellar. I think they were banking on. I don't think they were banking on, but it has this, like, let's hire the best people we can get, and like, according to behind the scenes, like, everybody had a blast doing this. Donald Sutherland in particular just enjoyed doing this. Like, every interview was like, I just had fun doing this. Like, being these characters, or be like, oh yeah, I love the TV show, or just a stellar cast. I really enjoyed listening to the voice actors, and it was Kristen
Bell.
Thank you. I want to call Kristen Wiig, but it's the wrong actress.
Different Kristen.
Yeah, different Kristen.
Kristen Wiig was not in any of the Frozen movies.
Yes, agreed. Nor is it Kristen Stewart.
Thank the Lord.
Either way, my first like is actually the cast. It's a great cast, and like, very shockingly surprised that Samuel L. Jackson is,
because it doesn't really sound like
no,
him
it doesn't. He's very robotic.
Once you know that's him and you listen, you can hear twinges.
Yes,
of his voice.
Yeah.
There.
I'm halfway expecting for someone to go in and redub it, just to be like being Samuel L. Jackson. It's slightly robotic, and it's like, oh, that would be hysterical. Would never show it on, never promote it here, but that would be hilarious to listen to.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, my first like is the cast. What's your number one?
My first like is actually the character designs.
Okay.
With the exception of Astro Boy's himself.
Okay.
He's a little too modern anime-ish, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
It is updating. His character design's a little different. But when you look at everyone else's character designs, they are obviously playing off of the original characters that they're based off of.
Yes.
I mean, look at Dr. Tenma's giant nose.
Whoop.
I mean, this is back when, the original character designs are, like we said earlier, they're like from the 1960s.
Agreed.
1950s, 1960s. The art style was still very much aping off of Disney at this time. The Western, the strangely Western animation focus or cartoon focus of noses is still very prevalent at this time. So
Agreed.
it made a good transition to kind of westernize some of those designs a little bit, to kind of give it a more Western cartoony feel without it feeling too American, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
It was a nice middle ground between Western animation and Japanese style animation, which I appreciated. All the characters, you know, they have this nice middle ground, and I like the way it looks. Like I said, the only problem I have here is Astro Boy himself. And I think when they redid the model, or redid the character art for him, they leaned too much into the modern anime aesthetic.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, if you go back and look at the original artwork for him, he does look more of what we think of as anime.
Yeah.
Than everyone else in the show.
Agreed.
But they kind of leaned too far into that to where when you bring him forward, and obviously he's going to be a lot more visually detailed character than pretty much anybody else in the film. But there's just something about that's too smooth. That's the best way I know how to put it.
Okay.
He's too smooth for the animation. You could claim that's because he's a robot, I guess. But then none of the other robots in the movie have that same feel to them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's almost a Uncanny Valley situation, strangely enough.
Okay.
Because he's like the least cartoony, but yet he's also the most cartoony in a strange way, and it just does not. I just don't like his design. But everybody else in this movie is spot on for the art direction. It's just I feel like, you know what I bet it is. I bet you because they had to. I bet you that character they went back and forth with the Tezuka estate, and they got to put their 2 cents in. Okay. For that character in particular, because that's their money character, right?
Yeah.
And I bet you they kind of massaged it more to the original style, to the point where when they went to Japan, they just, remade the character model, apparently, and make it more like the classic version.
That makes sense.
And that's just how it went. I don't know. His character model looks too human and yet too robotic at the same time.
Okay, makes sense.
I don't know a better way to put it than that.
Yeah. I can totally see your point if they would have made, to me, like aesthetically, like definitely for me, I love looking at like Pinterest art or like design work of like someone, how they would draw Astro Boy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of it where you can see like the metal fold lines and that kind of stuff on the skin to make him like he looks human, but obviously he's not human.
Right. That may not have worked with the story of him thinking he's human for like the first half of the movie.
Agreed.
Or first quarter of it, anyway. What's strange is that despite the fact they are the same character model-ish,
right?
Toby doesn't have this problem.
No, he doesn't.
Which is weird. Maybe it's just because the hair is more solid. It does not have the same bounce that Toby's hair or anybody else's hair does.
Right.
And maybe it's just the eyes are a little too... Like I said, there's so much fake and so much fake. It's all fake because it's cartoony. I mean, there's so much of the robot aesthetic they were using,
right, and
the human aesthetic that I don't think it meshed correctly.
Okay,
that's really what I'm getting at.
Okay, totally.
And I'm not even in dislikes yet. I just wanted to cover that's the exception to the rule of how much I like the character designs in this movie. Bear in mind, we're still in likes. What's your second like?
My second like would actually be, there again, this is my first time ever watching the movie. The surprise to me was actually Toby's death. I was like, whoa, okay, where did he come from? I was like, oh, crap. And it's like, oh, he died. I'm like, okay, he got vaporized. I'm like, okay. Well, I mean, he's still going to be there. Because
thankfully, they didn't actually show the death.
Yeah.
They just implied it, which makes sense for a kid's movie.
Yeah.
But you're still sitting there going, they're going to actually kill him.
Yeah.
They're not going to fatally injure him to where if they
That's my
don't
thought.
turn him into a robot, he's going to die.
Yeah, it's because of his injuries. Yeah.
Because that would have been a perfectly plausible explanation. I was even actually going for a time, because it had been so long since I'd seen this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, maybe he's already the robot, and this is just going to show it to everyone else that Dr. Tenma's a big idiot and trying to hide this from everybody. He's not really Dr. Tenma's birth son.
Yeah.
He's already a robot.
Son. Yeah.
And I thought maybe that's what the explosion was showing. Like, no, he's dead. And they're going, really? This is where we're going with this? Okay. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the oddly enough, kind of ironically, it reminds me of Masters of the Universe Revelation. Because there's a scene in the first episode where a character gets vaporized. And in the last episode, you see that scorch mark. I'm like, ooh, yeah, that reminds me so much of Astro Boy.
I'm reminded.
And oddly enough, that character walks by his own scorch mark. It's like, oh,
that's
ouch.
not disturbing in the slightest.
No, it's not.
I'm reminded of a very obscure quote.
Okay.
From a game called Star Trek Borg.
Okay.
It came out in like the 1995, 96.
Right.
It was a full motion video game.
Right.
You know, where you're just supposed to point and click as the video goes on to actually change where it's going.
Exactly.
And this one you followed, Q transports you back into the Battle of Wolf 359, which is the one where, you know, Picard was assimilated by the Borg and was destroying all the ships.
Yeah.
Q transports you back there, and you have to somehow survive. And part of the explanation at the beginning, it revolves around talking about how your father was back there because you're trying to save your father.
Okay.
In the game. And Q is describing your father's death. He's saying, and the ship got vaporized. Vaporized. Oof. No trace. Nothing to bury, nothing to mourn. The Borg took all away from you in an instant. It's like, boy, just dig it right in there. And that's the thought that came to my mind actually watching this. Vaporized. Whoosh. No trace. That's if you need to look up the scenes from that.
Okay.
But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, just to be like, it was very interesting they killed off Toby that quick. I was like, okay, because they're again having no real connection with the Astro Boy, franchise series, whatever. It's just like, whoa, okay, that's how that happens. Okay, cool. I thought that was interesting when you were going through it, and it's like I had one for my second, and I was like, no, that scene. I mean, like that is a really, really cool scene. It was shocking. It was like, whoa, okay. So yeah, mine is Toby's being poofed out of existence.
Nothing to bury, nothing to mourn. The Peacekeeper took it all away from you in an instant. I understand your desire for justice. They don't know, do they?
Okay, Q.
I'm quoting way too much of this game I haven't played in 20 years. This was also the game where he had a little encyclopedia in it.
Yeah.
To tell you about all the races and such, and the one for Vulcan. Everything else is kind of semi-serious. But he gets to Vulcan. He says, "Vulcan, oh please! Everybody knows about the Vulcans. Dull, illogical cousins to the Romulans. And don't ask me to explain any more about them because I won't."
Yeah. What is your number 2?
My number 2 dislike is that this is a pulpy sci-fi story.
Agreed.
Straight out of the 50s.
Agreed.
Oh, it's got camp. It's got science that's not really science.
Yeah.
It's magic-y science, but not in a stupid way, like modern magic-y science is.
Right. It's not technobabble.
It's not technobabble. There is technobabble in here,
right.
But it's more of the blue core has positive energy, and the red core is full of negative energy.
Oh my gosh.
And if they ever meet, they'll explode.
I'm thinking, like, how do you know this?
And then there comes the question:
have you run tests? Have you done diagnostic yet?
Probably. They don't have a lot of this energy.
That is
but
true.
I bet you they chipped off a little here, chipped off a little here, and then and just had a little small little explosion. It's like, oh, we might not want to get this any bigger than this.
Oh, my God.
Just bear in mind, remember how he describes this energy?
Yes.
So he's like, he found the energy and he separated it into the blue and red. That means at one point there was a purple energy core thing that was stable.
Yeah.
Because it was there. Maybe it wasn't stable and that's why he had to separate it.
Right.
But it was there and he separated it into these blue and red ones. And the reason they weren't blowing each other up there, besides maybe he got it separated just fast enough, was because they weren't concentrated. Which is how I saw it here. And then it's like, oh yeah, the 3 laws of robotics. Okay, so you're actually going to play on this. Are you going to explain this in the course of the movie? No, because that's not important. Fine, whatever. Very important, but then it's like, but then my favorite part is, yeah, I actually caught, they said, yeah, it's been, Zog was built 70, 80 years ago. He doesn't work anymore. And then Hemig says, you have to listen to what I say. The laws of robotics have been applied in every robot built in the last 50 years.
Right.
Zog was built before that point. I bet he didn't get the patch. I bet there wasn't an update he had to download that would instill the 3 laws of robotics.
Probably.
That's why you get Samuel Jackson saying, I'm old school. It's like, yes, you are.
And understanding that fact now, it's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely... That's a line he had to say 2 or 3 times because the first time it sounded too much like Samuel Jackson saying it.
Yeah, say it this time with a little robotic, but like, what the?
I'm old school. Yeah, close enough. But yeah, that's...
Oh my gosh.
It really hit me, though, when you see the extraterrestrial alien at the end.
Yeah.
And it looks like something that would be in a 50s era cartoon.
Right.
It's like, it's Cyclops, it's got 8 arms, and it moves too much for this animation style.
Exactly.
And yet, strangely, it is, while it's too fluid, it's also very jittery, like it's being animated in 4s. Strangely enough. It's trying to save as much money as we can.
I wonder why.
But yet it's still, well, based on the old animation style, because it's obviously a throwback to that old animation style, but it's like, that's good. That's good. It's one of the few times they actually kind of play into that older style of animation in this. But I mean, it's just, and you don't get modern science fiction has been tied to the science must be realistic for so stinking long that we, for some reason, can't enjoy a good pulpy sci-fi anymore, and that kind of bugs me.
Agreed.
So yeah, I like that this was a classic campy sci-fi movie, pulpy sci-fi movie.
I got you. Totally get it. And like, if you would have talked to me probably at this point, probably 15, 20 years ago, I'd be like, this is too old. Like, just be like, it's throwing back to an era I didn't want to talk about because it wasn't my generation. And now it's just more like, oh, okay, that's cool. Be like, you get more of a homage to a time period gone by, and it's just it's very unique to jump into something like that. And it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that aspect of it.
Your third like, sir.
My third like. I was kind of torn on this one. Heck, I'll throw it here because the third one is like, oh, okay, that's kind of a positive and negative, but I'll throw it in the last one.
Like blue and red energy.
Yeah, kind of like blue and red energy, except it's more the villain. But no, it's the father rejecting his robot son. And I'd be like, I know that's probably the most cheesiest thing in the planet. It's like, oh my gosh, be like, you decided you wanted to play God, and you desire to have your son back, so you use robotics like Dr. Victor Frankenstein to create life, and now you're not satisfied with it, like Victor Frankenstein.
Yes.
And oh no, be like you're not Toby. I think I've gotten my my Nicolas Cage down a little bit. It's like, yeah, you're not Toby.
Not Toby.
Yeah, you're not Toby.
But we're still gonna steal the Declaration of Independence. I want his face off. They should have said that line in this movie somewhere when maybe they're repairing Astro. I want his face off.
Oh my gosh.
That's staying in.
Yes, that is staying in. Yes, that is staying in.
Anyway.
But it's the idea that a scientist, going into, the Christianity, the spiritual of it, that if a man can try to create the essence of his son through a simple DNA strand, be like, oh, I'm going to implant all these great memories of him, and it's a man of pure science, a man of knowledge and learning, but it's a man trying to create something he has no, like grant, it's science fiction. That's what they do.
Yeah,
but
it's just, the thing is, science fiction, even science fiction from the time period this is supposed to be based in, was dealing with the concept that cloning does not make an exact copy of. Well, it might be an exact, even if it's pure genetic cloning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the DNA might be the same. The body might be the same. You might even be able to pull off scars and blemishes that would have come after birth.
Yeah.
But it's not the same soul. There's more to humanity than just, an
outward appearance.
This.
Yeah, exactly.
Earthly, fleshy material.
Yeah, carnal stuff.
Yeah, there's more to humanity than that, which is something science has never been able to quite wrap its head around.
Yeah, exactly.
But, as Christians, we know that there is a soul.
Yeah.
And that it was created, it's strange. To be honest, if you're trying to look at this from a Christian perspective, this is like the equivalent of a test tube baby or an artificial insemination. Because it's created in the most inhumane way possible outside of... Well, this is actually worse than artificial insemination because there is no biological process happening here.
Yeah.
But he still got his own soul. He did not get implanted with the old soul.
Yeah.
Toby was able to go on to what one would assume would be his eternal reward.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
Yeah.
Because we don't know enough about Toby's character or really about religion at all in this movie.
Yeah, it's not really...
The closest we get is they do mention Immanuel Kant's treatise, which was actually anti-religion, I believe. Okay. Interesting. I don't know enough about philosophy. We'll have to ask a buddy about it. It was a church camp.
I got you.
But because he actually... Here's the thing. I did not... The first time I watched this, I would not have noticed the word Kant as anything. But because I've listened to some other podcasts that get a little bit deeper into Christianity than, you normally get. Right. I get into some of the philosophy of it. I ran across that. I'd run across that name before, so I immediately picked up my eyes. Oh, you went anti-religious real fast in a very subliminal way. Interesting. Huh. But yeah, he's a scientist. It makes sense.
It does. It does. Is the idea, going back to the idea that man is trying to play God, and all you're doing, you're playing. You have this idea that I can put everything together, but I don't have everything. It's the idea that God is talking to a scientist and I can create life. It's okay. So you can use anything. It's be like, you have to create your own. It's okay. So the guy's looking around. The guy's like, can't use that. I created it first. And so everything humanity tries to create, God created before them. Yeah. And it's humanity definitely going back to the Dr. Jekyll, not Dr. Jekyll, but
Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, Dr. Frankenstein. A man who is...
It's pronounced Frankenstein. Moving on.
Frankenstein.
You've not seen the movie.
No, I have not. I own it now. I need to watch it.
We need to have a Halloween movie watching party.
Yes, agreed. So, yeah, it's just this idea that man can create life that has a soul, but they're dissatisfied because it's not the soul you wanted. It's like the idea of adopting a child and not wanting because it's not the child you wanted. Be like, you have created life, my friend, and you are rejecting it simply because it's not Toby.
But that's the thing. As a scientist, he thought he had the perfect workaround.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
He is able to build the body pretty much exactly like it. He had the positive energy, which somehow affects decision making. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that works. And he had
it's science.
Somehow from the strand of hair from the ball cap he was wearing at the time of his death.
Yeah, which the
somehow
only
didn't get vaporized. He was able to, from that DNA, he was somehow able to pull all of Toby's memories.
Yeah.
From birth to, his death.
Yeah.
Somehow suppress the memories of his death.
Yeah.
Which I just thought of right now. And implanted that somehow into this robot body. Mm-hmm. And he assumed it was going to be
his son.
His same character. But here's the problem. How do we not know he wasn't acting just like his son would act in those situations?
Yeah.
It's proven. He pretty much says he wasn't spending a whole lot of time with Toby, especially in those later, so he doesn't know how much of an how energetic he was, how much of a goofball he may have been.
Yeah.
And he certainly was surprised by every time his son was being disobedient to him and doing everything he wasn't supposed to do because he was super excited about seeing this giant robot. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, how does he not know this is not acting like his son?
Yeah.
And I think part of it is there's a certain knowledge of knowing on a deeper level than I can explain.
Yeah.
That you can tell this is not the same person, even though they have all the memories of that person.
Yeah. Somehow
you would know.
Yeah.
I don't know a good way to explain it other than that. But obviously, this is going to be he needed to be treated like a second person anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
He was a second son, and that's why when you get to the end of it, he accepts him as his son and says, "Again, you may not be the son I had, but you are my son."
Exactly.
Still. And I'm going to treat you like that. So yeah, that's my little treatise on that.
I gotcha, and I totally get it. It definitely works. It's the idea of a man trying to play God and trying to recreate life in which you're basically using all the same parts in which God created, but you're not satisfied with the ending. Mm-hmm. And it's like Dr. Victor Frankenstein. It's the man who creates life and then realizes, oh, I'm not satisfied with this.
Yeah.
I don't want it anymore. And then we could go into a political thing about that, but we're not going to with this because that's not the kind of podcast we do.
Yeah.
But
we've already dug deeper into theology than we normally do. So
right. Well, we've kind of gotten into that trend.
I kind of like the trend, actually.
I do. I really enjoy it. But yeah, it's just the idea that a man is basically recreating his son in his son's image, but it's not his son.
Yeah.
It's basically be like, oh, I created the perfect likeness of my son.
But it's not him.
It's not him.
Because twins aren't the same.
No, they're not.
Even though they look the same.
Right.
They have different... Identical twins do not have the same personalities, and different things happen to them.
Believe me, yes.
Nurture, nature, all that kind of stuff you go into. But yeah, I mean, obviously he's going to be a different person, even if he's got all the memories of Toby.
Exactly.
And it's not like those memories he has are any less real to him than they were to Toby.
Exactly.
It's just, even though he knows they're not his, he's now building new memories to go along with those memories. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
Yep. So that is my number 3.
My third like. Well, I'm going to do a little bit of a lead in here.
Okay.
There's another movie we've reviewed that shares a similar structure to this movie.
Okay.
It's a moment in another movie where, the child feels rejected from his society.
Okay.
He runs off to far from home.
Okay.
And runs into a character who happens to be played by... I can go look up the actor's name. Good night, where is he? Happens to be played by a character played by Nathan Lane.
Yeah. Who played Pumbaa? Or Timon. Timon, sorry.
And... yeah, because Pumbaa's not in this movie.
No, he's not. That would be funny, though.
And so I kind of latched onto that mentally. It's like, oh, it's Timon. So yeah, these are going to be... this Hammock guy, because bear in mind, I know nothing about the source material,
right,
other than there's a robot boy named Astro Boy. I know nothing about this. So it's like, oh, we're going to go meet a guy named Hammock. The robots hate him. Could be a good reason for that, but we'll see. Right. The kids love him, and of course, kids just they just have great senses of who's good and who's bad. Now they would never hang out with an evil person.
Right.
All these orphans, why would they hang out with evil people? And then the turn. It's only vaguely hinted at that he's not who he says he is.
Yeah. Throughout
most of the film, where he shows up, with the exception that he's got Astro Boy has to go back to Dr. Tenma because you kind of know there's got to be some reconciliation there at some point,
right?
Because even here, Dr. Tenma is being shown as a kind of a reluctant father figure.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got Elephant the Elephant up there, who's just so I see his name, Dr. Elephant up there. He's a good guy. So I mean, it's not like they're evil scientists. More like they are good scientists,
right? But
you get down to Hammock. It's like, oh yeah, I love robots. I like working on them. I used to work up in Metro City, but I couldn't stand that kind of life. So I was like, okay, you're just the ambassador for this other form of life. You're the Dr. Tenma from Earth.
Yeah.
While Dr. Tenma is the one from Metro City. That's kind of how I was thinking about it. Until the turn. It's like, you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
And there was only vague hints that you were not the bad guy up until this point.
Right.
That's a good turn, actually. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm sure if you knew he was the villain because you knew the source material,
right,
you would have known this was a bad thing from the beginning. I mean, falling to Earth from Metro City is probably not a good thing because fallen angel, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that also has a kind of a oh come on,
Fallen from Grace.
No, yeah, like Falling from Grace. Like you can go that route. I was going for another anime, which oh come on. What is that show? What? It's they did a live action movie of it recently, and it was amazing.
Ghost in the Shell?
No.
Battle Angel Alita?
Battle Angel Alita. Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, parallels here.
Yeah. Geek Devotions in our chat, Dallas says, of course they're connected, referring to The Lion King and this movie.
Yeah.
Says, of course they're connected. After all, Disney plagiarized Tezuka's Kimba the White Lion when they did Lion King.
That's completely utterly false.
I'm aware of this, but the similarities.
But, yes, agree. The similarities are so canny.
It's like, I mean, let's face it, Lion King did more to plagiarize Hamlet with that
agreed.
movie than they actually did Kimba the White Lion.
Yeah, agreed.
There's just a lot of things that are close.
Good point, Dallas. Very good point.
But that's a very good point. It's like, yeah, there's connections there. It's a small world after all. Anyway.
No, anything but that.
Yes. But anyway, I've lost my place. What was I talking about? Timon.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about. Nathan Lane.
Right, yes.
I just love how you don't see his turn coming, and it worked on a pretty decent level. But I do have issues with this, which I would need to discuss in dislikes. So if you're fine with me jumping into my first dislike,
Go for it.
this movie needs to pick a villain and stick with it. I don't know if President Stone was in the original source material. I mean, with a name like President Stone, I suspect he wasn't, because that sounds too American, if we're being honest. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again.
Right.
But you've got President Stone up there with his peacekeeper robot. Once again, that sounds a little too American for that to be the thing. And then you got Hamegg on the surface, who's doing a lot of evil things. It's like, so you got a whole nother bad guy villain story. This is 2 movies in one. It's just one movie plays in the middle of the other one. And it's like, pick a story and stick with it.
Right.
I understand having multiple villains. I understand this is probably, if this is even based on an actual storyline from the source material, which I doubt. I very severely doubt. I suspect this was an original story created for this movie. It feels like much like the problem with the biggest issue with Alita Battle Angel is, it feels like it's it feels like there's too many different stories happening at one time, because they are adapting too many chapters at one time, instead of sticking with a storyline and then expanding upon it.
Yeah.
There's so much that happens in this movie. I can understand why some people may get confused, and because you've got all the stuff going on in Metro City, then we take a break from Metro City and go hang out on Earth for a while, and we meet this whole other cast of characters, complete that arc, go back to Metro City, and then somehow you've got to wrap everything up with all the characters coming up to Metro City.
Yeah.
It's too much at one time.
Yeah. Agreed.
This is a kind of story that works good in a more serialized, short, with each thing being, like 30 minutes to an hour long, than it does in a movie format. It almost does not work here, because you're trying to do so much.
Agreed.
And you didn't do it in a way that made sense. The movie just needed, I think, some focus on it. And the way I put it in my notes is pick a bad guy and stick with him.
Yeah.
Because while Hammeg's the villain, you forget about President Stone.
Yeah.
Until he captures Astro Boy. And then once you're up there in Metro City again, after we've met Hammegg, they don't even talk about Hammegg anymore.
Yeah. He pops up like once.
Maybe once. To get arrested again.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are you even here? Why? It feels like they had one story and they felt this isn't good enough. We need to put bookends.
Yeah, agreed.
That's kind of what it felt like. So yeah, that's my first dislike, is pick a villain and stick with it.
Mine kind of ties in with your first dislike, is it's like, okay, so Astro Boy or Toby falls down to Earth, and like he is befriended by these kids, and he meets what's Timon's character's name again? Hamegg. Meets Hamegg, and my
part
first
of a well-balanced breakfast.
Yeah.
Ham and egg.
Hamegg.
That's the joke.
It is.
That is the joke.
That is the joke, ham and egg. Now I'm getting the joke.
He does not like green eggs and ham.
Apparently, he just likes destroying robots. So, like, the lead up to Hamegg, just like when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, wait a minute, Astro Boy is a robot, and he starts talking about fighting robots. I'm like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. How is it gonna turn? I was like, oh, okay, I gotcha. And the same thought be like, you have too many plot threads going throughout this movie, and it's like we're stopping everything to do this robot fight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are we stopping the film? We're stopping the progression of the story. It's a cool scene, but it does literally nothing for the movie.
And you got a great lead, but it feels like it interrupts.
Yeah, exactly.
What's supposed to be the main story to go hang out in the side story for a while.
Yeah, but it's just the whole robot fight is like, really, you're pumping the brakes on your story to just do a really cool action scene, which is like, okay, cool, but like you're just basically applying the e-brake and having your entire story slide into a drift, and then it has to pick up again.
Yeah.
It's like
30 minutes later.
Yeah, 30 minutes later. Like what do you want to pad the runtime? What it sounds like.
That's what it felt like.
What they could have done just more
because what they had to do was bring the other storyline to a complete halt. Reintroduce like 15 characters.
Yeah.
For the first time, because all the characters from Metro City are still up in Metro City.
Yeah.
We got an entirely new cast when we get down to Earth.
Yeah.
You got to introduce the Robot Revolutionary Front.
Oh my gosh.
Those three goobers.
Yes.
You got to introduce us to all the kids. You got to introduce us to Hamig. The only character that really didn't need an introduction, or at least the introduction I thought was not rushed, was Zog.
Yeah.
And that's because it was more about Astro Boy learning about his abilities and learning to actually be a good fellow robot.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah. The way I see they could have approached that is that Astro Boy falls to Earth. He meets everybody. But it's more that President... I want to say Snow, but it's not Snow.
It's Stone.
Stone. President Stone is still after him. So I would almost like President Stone is like he's still after Astro Boy. And instead of having the story stop to tell the side story before we can get back to the main story, why don't you have the main story follow Astro Boy down instead of having him pick up later?
At the very least, keep us going back and at least saying, "Sir, we can't find Tenma's son," or we think he might be over in this area over here.
Yeah.
Or keep the President Stone and all that stuff present there, so you can feel like there's at least a sense of dread. What if they find him with these kids? What's that going to mean to the kids? What could this mean to the kindly inventor who surely is not the villain of this side story?
Right.
What could all of this mean? No, they're just like, we're going to ignore the fact that they existed for a while and just keep showing you shots of the city from time to time as our reminder of Astro's past life.
Yeah.
You killed the momentum of the movie.
Yeah, quite literally, to tell this little side story, and you go back up.
Which, admittedly, there are some important things for the story that happen during the side story.
Exactly.
But for the most part, it's like, you could have handled this better.
Agreed.
Anyway.
Yeah. Mine is the side story of the robots fighting.
All right. So my second dislike... The robots, with the exception of Astro Boy himself, remind me of the robots in the Blue Sky animation film Robots.
Really?
And not in a good way.
Okay.
They are they are a little more pulpy science fiction-y here than they are in Robots.
Right.
Even though it's kind of got that same architecture style, except in Robots they're all rusted and old. In this one they're more shiny and new. But the acting in the joke telling is the same, and it's very cringe worthy.
Yes.
Alan Tudyk, I love you, buddy. But your role as Squeegee, not one I'd keep on your IMDb if you could find a way to get rid of it. The angry chicken was a better role than Squeegee. Or what was the other guy, Mr. Sprayer?
Spray,
something like that.
Yeah, but he was sprayed like by a comedian.
Yeah, I mean, that made sense, but you got Alan Tudyk playing this other character. Sorry, the other guy was Mr. Squirt.
Yeah, Mr. Squirt.
Mr. Squirt and Mr. Squeegee. Alan Tudyk, you need to find some way to excise
Besides
Mr.
that role.
Squeegee from your filmography. I don't know how you do that, but you need to. The robots in here are just so corny and so cheesy. 5 seconds into Viva le Robotolution, or however they said that.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, stop.
Yeah, please. Stop, please.
I knew this was bad when you brought in Mike the Fridge. And I thought maybe, obvious Russian robot was going to be fun. Maybe. But after the, 15th ice maker joke?
Oh my gosh.
It's like, are you an ice maker? What are you? I don't even know what your job was supposed to be. Obviously, you're more of a specialized robot than the other goober. The first robot in that other thing, Mike the Fridge, very specialized. But because all he has is a fridge. The robots here, it feels like the robots are the butt of the jokes. They're minions who you can understand. They're that kind of character.
Right.
Can we not do that? Can we just have... Can't we... If you're going to have comedy in a movie, can it not come from the main people? Can it not come from the cast? Can it not come from the situations? Does it have to be dumb fart jokes?
Yeah.
I don't mind a dumb fart joke from time to time. But when you hit them at me 3 times in 5 seconds, that's a little much. I know it makes the preschoolers laugh, but you're not just making films for preschoolers. You're actually talking down to the preschoolers. You need to be talking up to the preschoolers so they'll catch up with the rest of us. Because that's how I learned. I grew up watching Star Trek at the age of 5. And look how successful I am now.
He's on a podcast.
35, no prospects. Except I got a good job.
There we go.
There's that. But yeah, no relationships. Except for, no romantic relationships, I should say.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Fixing that because I didn't want you to take that the wrong way.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't have a girlfriend is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. You fixed that situation perfectly.
But no, what I'm trying to say is, this has been my biggest issue with children's films, or films aimed more at children.
Right.
For the past 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Is that they don't respect the intelligence of children.
Right.
Children are very smart.
Agreed.
They aren't all ADD heads. That's just Jacob. No, I'm kidding.
Where? What? What's going
exactly.
on?
You still have that issue. But I mean, the jokes for that section, it's like, they're stupid. I guess kids find it funny, and they're not really bad jokes. But there's too many of them. It's like, it's distracting from the movie. And I would have preferred, them not, it's the biggest problem I have with these Minions-esque characters. That they just, thousands of them. But anyway.
Agreed.
That's my second dislike. What's yours?
My second dislike. And now, granted, this is the nitpick. This is extreme nitpick. Nicolas Cage and his flat performance.
Yeah, he didn't quite match his character.
No, he didn't. It's like, son, I really love you.
It's like,
but I'm going to take you offline.
That's like Nicolas Cage. Your character is showing more emotion than you're speaking.
That is so true. That is
also,
so true.
President Stone, your character is showing more emotion than you're actually speaking. I mean, President Stone, Donald Sutherland was not as bad as Nick Cage, but there were parts where you're looking and going, that's voiced.
Yeah.
You did not try to make me suspend my disbelief at all.
Yeah, even in Nick Cage in the featurette was like, it's like, yeah, I grew up watching Astro Boy. And I really loved it. It was really great.
Then
and show your emotion, man.
Be a living actor in this film.
There again.
I know Nicolas Cage is not known for being a very dynamic actor. He does kind of have the same kind of tone, but I have seen him and stuff, get excited and have fun. I mean,
have you seen Face Off?
I've seen Face. I actually have not seen Face Off. I've seen clips.
What?
I just haven't gotten around to it.
Okay. Totally fair.
I did see pictures of Nicolas Cage in his mask for COVID. It was very nice.
What?
Yeah. You know, John Travolta.
Good one.
Yes.
Good one. Yes.
No, I've not actually seen the movie, but I'm thinking of things like Ghost Rider.
Okay.
Where his character is getting filled with Ghost Rider's energy, and he kind of gets that wild glint in his eyes. And
well, it's Nicolas Cage.
He's going the full Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Which we need. I would have liked the full Nick Cage in this movie, please. I know he's supposed to be sad and mopey for the whole thing, but even in the beginning where he should be somewhat excited about his new current project that the president's coming to see and is maybe going to sign off on. He's not showing any any excitement at all.
Yeah,
I would have liked it. And he didn't have any emotion when he's finally accepted Astro as his son at the end of the movie. And I'm sorry that I keep interrupting and taking your stuff because this is your point, not mine.
Spotlight.
Anyway. I get excited.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah, it's Nicolas Cage. Like you said before, it's like Nicolas Cage he's got this flat, monotone voice. Now I sound like
Nicolas Cage.
I sound like Nicolas Cage, and it's kind of cool. But he just talks like this the entire time, unless he goes wild and crazy.
But he never does that.
He never does nothing in this film except just talks.
Keep in mind, this was a guy in line to play Superman.
Oh my gosh. It's either he's flat monotone or he's wild and crazy.
Yes.
It's like,
not the bees! Not the bees!
Like, General Zod, I'm going to destroy you. And I'm serious.
He's not my son. I thought I could bring him back. We should just take this boy offline, and I'll just go be sad mopey somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Nicolas Cage, you just talked about killing somebody, and you showed no care whatsoever. You didn't even show any ounce of being conflicted. If you thought this was going to be your son, and it ended up not being your son, which means he's somebody else. It is a human life, even if it's an android robot human life hybrid thing. You should care more about killing it.
All I gotta say, it's a Cage thing. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a Cage thing. That's my number 3. It's a Cage thing. What's your number 3?
In the trivia section, I mentioned a couple of other movies that came out around this time. Speed Racer, Dragon Ball Evolution. I would like to add a couple others, or one other one that's come out since then that I think falls into the same category. Even though I liked the movie, Ghost in the Shell has the same problems.
Okay.
Or had the same reactions, I should say.
Okay.
I don't think Alita Battle Angel had this reaction.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. But this and those other films I mentioned were all the nails in Western adaptation of anime.
Agreed.
And I hate that this is one of those films. Because on some instances, I think this is actually trying better than Ghost in the Shell. Definitely better than Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh my gosh.
Speed Racer is not an adaptation of Mach 5 Go Go Go. It is an adaptation of Speed Racer, which is different. It's Mario Kart the movie, and I don't care what you say. It's still fun. But
I still need to watch that movie.
Yes. Like I said, it's Mario Kart the movie.
Okay.
It is... All of these films get lumped together as... And these are all reasons that anime... or manga creators, Japanese creators, are so iffy about signing off on Western-made projects, and that's because they put out stuff like this that is not a true representation of of the work. Now, like I said, this is not as bad as Dragon Ball Evolution. Even though I've watched Dragon Ball Evolution, I know what it was trying to do. It failed miserably, but I know what it was trying to do. I know the parts it was adapting. It just didn't work. It was too Power Rangers-esque. Maybe that's the problem, actually. They're trying to make these into Power Rangers, and they're not. This does not exactly have the same problem because it is still a kids movie. They were trying to make a kids movie out of this. A modern-day kids movie out of a 50s sci-fi schlocky, pulpy, admittedly kids-centered television manga and show. But they don't get it right.
Yeah.
There's some element of it they don't get right that I can't explain. And that's why I say this is another nail in the coffin of American-made anime adaptations.
Yeah.
My only hope is we get more stuff like Detective Pikachu and Alita Battle Angel. Mm-hmm. And I'll even throw Sonic the freaking Hedgehog on that pile.
Okay.
Of adaptations of Japanese properties that are actually done good.
Right.
I want more stuff like that.
Okay.
Astro Boy is good, don't get me wrong, but it's not as good as it could have been. And some of that, I think, is simply because the property itself is a little on the old side for good adaptation.
Right.
Because, I mean, even now, pulpy sci-fi is not in. You still have to have this kind of realistic thing for audiences to accept it. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a kids movie, but even the kids know the science is fake in this, and there's that feel even then that that it should be more realistic even to the kids. In fact, there's people who will say it needs to be more realistic for the kids so they will understand the truth that is science. But I think that played against it. I think they tried to give at least some. I think that's why it doesn't perform well. And when you get right down to it, there's just an edge of professionalism in this movie that is not there. That was actually, ironically, there in TMNT. The other movie that this production company, this animation company produced. And I don't know why there's a difference. I don't know if maybe it's just because they were trying to be more kid-friendly, while TMNT, while kid-friendly, was meant more for the older kids. Mm-hmm. Maybe they aimed too young for this one, and they tried too much to try and dumb it down a little.
That could be.
I don't know, but it's still just another nail in the coffin of Americans adapting anime.
Okay.
And I think that's sad because I find it interesting when people from other cultures adapt stuff from cultures that aren't their own and make something kind of new out of it.
Okay.
You look at Alita Battle Angel, it's an American movie, but it's got so much of that Japanese influence in there that it's almost its new thing.
Yeah.
Put that on its head, and you look at something like there is anime made based on comic books, and I can't think of the names of them right now. Oh, good example. My Hero Academia is based on a kind of a loose adaptation of Western superhero comics.
Right.
But it's still told in a Japanese way. It's an interesting way of storytelling that's not fully Japanese and not fully Western.
Yeah.
When you have these weird Frankensteinian connections, you can do some good stuff. But the problem is, for every perfect creation, you have garbage. And I think this fits somewhere in the middle. It's like, it's not bad, it's not good, it's just there. It's just not a amazing, great, hallelujah adaptation of Astro Boy. And I don't know if you really could have made one of those without, just fully making it a 50s black and white cartoon.
Agreed.
I don't really know if you could do it where it made sense. So yeah, that's my third dislike here, and is it's another nail in the coffin.
Okay.
Of American anime.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So my third dislike. How many times can a character say, "I'm running for re-election"?
Good night.
Wow.
It's like, I'm running for re-election. We know.
We get the point.
I'm not voting for you.
Yeah, President Stone. I got it right with this time. President Stone. The Donald Sutherland. Be like, yeah, has amazing, dulcet tones as an actor. He's got this really amazing voice.
But if I ever have to hear him say, "I'm running for re-election," or "There's a re-election coming," I will stab him in the eye.
The character, not
not him himself. Don't want to assault an actual person, but I will find a picture of President Stone. I will take this knife here at the end of this multi-tool. I'm a Texan, so I'm gonna have pocket knife, of course. I just want to go, go full.
David. Blah.
What is the
Norman Bates?
Norman Bates. I want to go full Norman Bates on his eyes if I have to hear him say, "I'm running for re-election." By the way, that's the character, not Donald Sutherland. Donald Sutherland, love you. Don't want to hurt you at all. I don't want this to be misconstrued in any way, shape, form, at all.
Drew does not condone violence against an actual human being.
President Stone, on the other hand, shut up. Anyway,
my point is that he is the most cheesiest villain I've ever seen. I probably had review for. It's like
Hammock was actually a better villain.
I would agree with you. It's just like there's so much of like, okay, we get you're being reelected. I get you're the villain. It's like he's not even a real like your Astro Boy is like he's a fairly good villain, but you have this such a like just kind of a meh. He gets absorbed by his own robot.
Yes.
And
you
it's
see it coming.
Yeah, you see it coming a mile away.
It's like,
I'm getting reelected.
Stone, I don't even care that you just got hit. This isn't going to change anything. Other than now the big giant robots come out saying, "I'm running for re-election.
I got an election to run and like die.
I must have the blue energy core for some reason." I honestly don't know why he wants it.
He has the red core.
Change anything.
Damn.
And if he was listening, which we know he doesn't listen to the scientists, why would he do that?
Yeah.
If he had listened, he's like, "Oh yeah, the red core and the blue core can't get near each other. So why are you trying to absorb the blue core? You can't do that. Are you just going to try and blow up Metro City?"
I think that's just the point of it.
It's like,
I want all the power to be reelected.
It's like, you don't want to be President Stone. You want to be Emperor Stone.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Please hush.
At this point, I want it to be Emperor Stone, so I don't have to hear about you running for re-election. By the way, how many term limits are there? Because I think there needs to be one less.
But oh my gosh, just like such cheese is there, and like you said, be like, how many times do I have to hear someone say re-election?
Especially this close to 2020.
Oh my gosh.
Not to get political, but
oh my gosh. It wasn't close to 2020, but it's very close to what 2020 was.
Felt like it.
Felt like it. Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
Please. Yeah, so it's President Stone and his obsession
with re-election.
The re-election. I've got to be re-elected. Either way. That's my number 3.
Which brings us to the end of our review, so we need to rate this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, I'm actually giving this a 7.
Okay.
Even with all the problems the movie has, it's still a fun popcorn muncher movie.
Right.
If I was not having to be critical about it, I think I would just lay back and laugh at this film.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh yeah, this is a cheesy popcorn flick. That's all it's intended to be.
Right.
It's not meant to be, as closely looked at as we. I mean, this is a movie that got Samuel L. Jackson to say 11 lines, and there are 11 good 11 good words, and it works. So I mean, it's a fun movie. There's a little bit of logical discrepancy there, sure, but it's. I don't think it I don't think it deserves the hate that it received.
Agreed.
So I'm giving it a 7.
Okay. I'm a little bit lower, but I'm still giving it like you said, it's a good popcorn muncher. It's one of those movies to throw on. It's got some silly lines. It's got some depth. It's got, okay, let me think about that for a second. And we really want to hear President Stone shut up about being reelected. So I'm giving it a 6. Like, yeah, it's one of those movies you could probably just pop on while you're doing something. There again, if you haven't watched the film yet, go watch it. It's definitely worth a watch. And yeah, who knows? Maybe down the line we all laugh about it. You never know. Indeed. But yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode, which means we need to announce the next movie we're reviewing next week.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, it's about another artificial creation that wants to become a real boy. But this is the original version of this, or at least the Walt Disney adaptation of that original film. This will be not the oldest film I think we've done, because I think we did one that might have been a little... No. It will be the oldest film we've done.
It's the oldest film we've done so far.
Yeah. We're doing the second ever made Walt Disney Studios production, which is Pinocchio. And you want to know something? You know how you put this... you put Astro on the list because you hadn't seen it?
Mm-hmm.
I put this on the list because I haven't seen it.
Wow, okay.
If we're being fully and completely honest, outside of Fantasia, which we watched for the show,
yeah,
although I had watched it sometime in the past, my knowledge of Disney films pre-Sleeping Beauty,
yeah,
I've not really watched that much.
Wow.
In fact, Fantasia is it.
Wow.
I've never seen, beginning to end, Snow White,
okay,
Pinocchio, Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen parts of it. I take that back. I probably at a very young age saw Cinderella from beginning to end.
Okay.
I don't remember it that well.
Okay.
And I can't think of anything else really in that section that I would have paid attention to at the time. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So we'll see if any of us are telling a lie next week when we review Pinocchio. So in the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
No, Monstro!
Come, Jacob, we must prepare for next week.
Prepare for what, Drew?
The same thing we do every week, Jacob. Record a podcast!
Oh, boy!
So where can they find you, Jacob?
You can find me on Facebook at Jacob B. Heron, also on Facebook at Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where I try to draw each and every day. I don't get to it as often as I like, but join me there. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Jacob B. Heron, on Twitter at Jacob Heron, and Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. So where can they find you, Drew?
You can also follow me on Letterboxd at GGeorge759, Facebook as Drew Dodgen, my Facebook page where you can see pictures I've taken at Drew's Photo Bin. You can also follow me on Twitter at GGeorge759.
You can email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on Twitter at cast_cell.
You can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/thecellcastgaming.
You can also follow us on YouTube at Cellcast.
Listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts,
Google Play Podcasts,
Stitcher,
Spotify,
and your favorite podcast directory.
You can also listen to us on the Movie of the Week podcast with Jim Heron, where we talk about live action movies. And remember, Cell is a single L.